Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Knockhill. Of course, in the live stream there, it says no commentary, and I saw that myself and thought I'd take it upon myself to join you live this evening for round 8 of the TCR UK hybrid. I don't actually know what championship it is I'm commentating on because I actually just joined it last second because I saw it was live. This on your screen, this is what we're live at right now, but I know that we're in Knockhill, and I know that there are plenty of drivers who are joining us here today. We'll kickstart with that one, but I can hear Mike Yao in my ears now laughing his head off. Thank you very much. Yes, we didn't need to remind everyone who it was who's just made that catastrophic error in commentary, but yes, welcome to everyone. I've only just joined the Discord chat, so if you're on the Discord for VMO, yeah, get it in. I can see it. I'm in the TCR UK lounge, so if any of the drivers are listening, get your comments in. Let me know a little bit about who's driving. We just watched the previous race out there. Didn't watch too much of it, unfortunately, because I was only just joining. But I did see that John Monroe took the win out on that one. As you can see, we're around 8 of 10, 24 lap races in total around the very terrifying Knockhill circuit. I have to say, it is a circuit, even in the sim racing world, one you cannot take lightly. There are some tricky corners out there. There are some fast corners. There are some slow corners, and there are some very undulating corners as well, where, especially in the world of R-Factor 2, you can end up quite literally on your virtual roof quite quickly. So, drivers will have to be very, very careful when negotiating that very tricky chicanes at a corner name that I'm not even going to try and pronounce. The corner before that, though, very, very fast. Of course, you have Butchers. Then you come out onto Brabham's as well. Clark, the next very fast right-hander before you head down the railway bend, and then into Taylor's, the last corner. Taylor's, now that corner there, very, very tricky. We've seen moves galore throughout that one. Very easy to get a switchback move on there, where you can climb back down the inside as you head down the main straight. But for a lot of people, it is a very, very, very difficult corner to negotiate. We've got a bit of time until the next session is out there. I'm looking at the live timing, and I can see that they are doing some pretty quick laps. I mean, let's see. John Monroe, the race winner in the last one, currently in the warm-up session, not doing too great out there. He's currently sitting in P6 in the quick warm-up session that they've got. Toby Davis is the fastest. He's out there in his best lap, 49.641. After completing 4 laps of warm-up. He's clear by about 1.3 seconds from anyone else. So either he's really quick or he's cut a corner. We'll see what happens when the timing update and see what happens. Tyre choices. Look at this. Right. Okay. So I'm assuming this is the tyre choices that we're seeing for this race only. We are. Yes. Okay. So we can see Matt Richards for race 2 is running the option tyre, so not running the soft prime in race 2. 3 races over this one, so 3 24 lap races, and at the moment there is only so the medium and soft available, and a handful have gone for the medium option tyre. The soft prime, I would say the majority are on. Now, I don't know if it's denoted by the yellow writing on there that means that is the option tyre. I mean, that's John Monroe, and looking at John Monroe and the timing, can't really... Okay, so the tyres turn to green, apparently. Right, okay, so we'll find out. Here's a look at the starting lineup then for this one. John Monroe and Dan Kelly, they start in the front row. Daniel Hurlock and Phil Morby, they go from row number 2. Toby Davis and Cameron Brewster, they go from spots 5 and 6. From Matt Richards and Ben Willis on positions 7 and 8. On row number 5, Stefan McGrady and Scott Morris go from that row. Chris Butcher and Tobias Blum. We'll go with Tobias Blum. He goes from the next row. Carl Penton and Callum Wilson go from the next row. 13 and 14 from Sam Doman and Ryan Elliott for the RSR team. Max Spooner and Dan Hunt. I think Dan with a spelling mistake there with 2 A's in his name, but that's probably how he spells it, with in position 17 and 18. Daniel Hyde and Chris Corbett go from the next row. And then rounding out the field at the back of the grid, 21 strong grid, Jonas Leppit from the entire field as the cars get themselves lined up ready. We saw in that previous race that, like we say, John Monroe took a very convincing race win in the Zanshow Simsport livered car. And as you can see there, lined up, ready to go. You can see at the back of the grid, Daniel Hurlock just getting himself primed and ready. Of course, drivers in this one, not sure what they're allowed to run in terms of traction control or anything like that. I assume it's all turned off. There's a lot of talented drivers in this one, so I assume they've all got it turned off. Wait for the klaxon then. Here we go. Good race start then from the entire grid. Great start from, I have to say, the man starting in P2 on that one, Toby Davis, who streaks away into the lead. John Monroe down inside, can't quite hold on to that lead, but as everyone gets away, Matt Richards there in third place. Everyone with a really good start. Daniel Hurley, you can just see at the back of the grid, just struggling to find any way he can squeeze through as sparks fly off the entire grid as they whiz through the chicane. Up the hill now they'll go through Clark Corner and then down the straight here. Railway Bend is the next one. This is the challenging one. This is where everyone's going to send it down the inside, and Matt Richards is not going to disappoint with this one with a great lunge down the inside on John Monroe. Demotes him down into P3, and Monroe getting very loose and squabbly on the exit gets overtaken by Dan Kell as well. So Kell down the inside, side by side for third place, gets the move done before they even reach the next corner. So Kell now up into P3. Now John Monroe in that last race, he did win that one quite convincingly, but in this one here is struggling a little bit in these early stages of the race. Chris Butcher there, you can just see in fifth place, is latched right onto the back of John Monroe now. So John looking like he's struggling in race 2. Here we go on board with Chris Butcher, and Butcher looks to the inside going into Clark Curve and thinks against it, slots back in behind. Now we'll have the momentum. He'll have the slipstream effect here as he tucks in behind, pulls out the slipstream and looks to the inside into the Taylor's hairpin. And down the inside he goes, and it's a pretty signed, sealed and done move. Blocks the corner there, prevents Monroe from going for the switchback here. So Monroe falling down the order. That's Daniel Hurlock there, who we saw further down the order. He's already up into P14 now. So he's had an excellent start on this one. So Toby Davis then leads the way from Matt Richards, Dan Kelly, Chris Butcher, John Monroe, Bill Morby, Stefan McCready, Ben Willis, Cameron Brewster and Callum Wilson, the top 10 at the moment, with Stefan McCready. He's there in P7. Again, all these drivers pushing the try and gain track position. You can just see there a big hint of the inside sausage curb there at Clark Curve, and you can take that, but you've got to be so careful because it's very easy to just lose that top end. So as they go through, see there Ben Willis for Drag Racing in 8th place as Matt Richards sets a new fastest lap, and side by side here for the race lead as Matt Richards tries to get the move done on Toby Davis, but Davis says no. We go on board briefly with Richards as Richards now again is under pressure from Dan Kell. So Dan Kell, who comes into the battle, of course, as soon as you go for a move, you're going to get pressure as sideways as they exit out of the chicane. Dan Kell now with a prime opportunity here to get down the inside, and he does get down the inside, moves into second place, but Matt Richards fights back. Richards now on the inside, and keep an eye as well on Chris Butcher. Butcher now wanting to get involved in this one as he tries to squeeze his way down the inside, fails to do so. So Richards now down into P3, and we'll have to see what he can do after that very rare mistake that we don't usually see from Richards. He's going to have to really try and squeeze back any sort of momentum he's got. Again, back down into the braking zone of Duffer's Dip for the 6th time here as we end lap 5. And again, you can just see this breakaway top 4. Absolutely fantastic as the entire field is relatively close. The entire field at the moment separated. Well, the top 16 separated by less than 10 seconds at the moment, which is absolutely amazing as they've really concertinaed up here now. So Davis from Kell, Richards still there in P3. Keep an eye on Butcher, though. Butcher's in the most favourable spot here because he's got the reactionary gap he needs to really try and go for the switchback. Here we go then. Change for the lead around the outside here. And Dan Kell tried to get that move done down the inside. And Richards tried to get the move done around the outside. And he has done. He's got second place. And now he's 3 wide going in towards Duffer's Dip. This is never going to end well. Richards on the outside. He's got to be careful here. He doesn't get squeezed onto the grass, and he does get squeezed onto the grass. He cuts the corner. He holds the place. The stewards might have to look at that one because he might have to give that position up to third place, because if Dan Kell feels like he gained an advantage there by leaving the circuit, well, you can't do things like that. So on board with Dan Kell, who's right behind Richards, as Richard tries to get that move done. Again, a big lock of oversteer there for Richards. And again, Richards on the medium option tyre, I believe, for this one. So he's got to be very careful with pushing that tyre too hard early on, as, again, Kell just tries to squeeze his nose down the inside. But Kell in that BMW just closes the door and says, no, thank you. You're going to have to try again a little bit later on. Back across the line they go. Yellow flags in sector 2, so someone's gone for a spin. It clears quickly, so no major incidents there as Richard clouts that curve there. Rest further down the field here. Stefan McReady in the Oracle car there. He's McCready. Okay, I'm calling him McReady, but I wasn't ready for that. There we go. That was absolutely terrible. McCready there. Is still there. P7. Squabbling over that one as well. Nice concertina group here. Who's he got just in front of him? So he's got Phil Morby in front of him. He's got Ben Willis behind. Back here at the lead, though, because it's all kicking off as Richards again trying to look for that race lead. And look at that. Everything's concertinaed up here now. So maybe Toby Davis, not the quickest driver out there, because Richards again trying to find any gap, switches back to the outside. Again, you can't really get the switchover move here, but he's going to try it. Is Richards, and he switches position. Now he'll have the inside line. Oh, but he's gone straight off the track, and he's going to rejoin. But I suspect he's going to have to rejoin quite some further down the order, because I don't think he's going to be allowed to hold that one, and he does. Yeah, he slots back down into P4. And I suspect he'll go even further down as the rest of the field slots in. Back here at the front, though, because it's now Dan Kell's turn to try and get past Toby Davis. Davis now hugging that inside line. To me, it looks to be his teammates in the same livery. Now 3 wide going into Taylor's hairpin. Oh, dear. Don't let the 2 teammates wipe each other out. They don't. They all get through and they squeeze Dan Kell off the side of the track. Still 3 wide here as we go down the Stewart Straight towards Duffer's Dip again. Well, this is absolutely mental. You can tell it's sim racing because they have no fear whatsoever as they dive down Duffer's Dip. And again, everyone slotting through, but Butcher holding on to the race lead as Kell now getting squeezed out by Butcher's teammate, Toby Davis. Davis now off the track as they do the old switcheroo, and Kell back down the inside. I actually can't keep up with this one. Matt Richards is still there in P4. He'd managed to not lose any more positions, and I'll keep an eye on him because they're in 5th place. Heat 1 winner John Monroe is still there. We go on board down in the picture-in-picture, and you can see there Matt Richards squeezing onto the back and trying to find any waft he can out of the Taylor hairpin. Again, slotting into the slipstream behind Davis in that number 34. Look further back there as well in the picture. You can see Ben Willis in 8th place. He's trying to go for the move there on Phil Morby, as Stefan McCready has managed to get that job done and moved up into P6 now. So Ben Willis still struggling in that midfield section as Butcher here is... Well, he's holding on to that lead. Dan Kell trying his level best here to try and find any gap. On board with Kell now as we go down the back straight through Railway Bend into Taylor's again. And whoa, not sure what happened there, but it looks like Kell maybe with an issue. He's still there in P2. It looked like he had Richards go down the inside of him there. And and that's Toby Davis. Toby Davis off the track, and he's fallen right down the order. That may have been the ooh moment we were talking about a second ago. And yeah, Toby Davis now recovering back onto the track, crosses the line P16 for Toby Davis. So massive shame for him. So this was the replay. Okay, so there was an ooh moment as it was side by side with Toby Davis and Matt Richards. It was such an ooh moment. He's gone inside this other car. And there you can see spin around, and that's not what you want to see, especially in such a close packed race as well. He dropped right down the order. Lincoln watching a replay, another lap's completed. It's such a short lap round here. Fastest lap at the moment out there, 51.091. That is by Matt Richards, currently in P3. So Richards still on the recovery drive here as well. Stefan McCready there. Well, he pays a visit to the very brave camera operator at Duffer's Dip Apex there and says, "Smile, here's my front grille." And plows through the virtual camera. Butcher, though, still leading now by 1 second in total. So through the braking there, did close down now to less than a second, but you can see visually gap has opened up quite a bit. Here's a close battle here. This is for 8th place. Daniel Herlock at the moment on the back of Ben Willis. I say on the back, he's on the inside, and he's done him. So Ben Willis there moving up into P8. A little further back, there's Sam Doman, and he's just been absolutely brake checked there by Cameron Brewster, I believe. Oh, actually, no, I think that was Dan Hutt who brake checked him just a little bit there. But we won't blame him. It's touring cars. That happens. Again, yellow flags in Sector 2. They clear quickly. Back here with the race leader, Butcher from Kell. Richards still there in P3 after that disaster start for Richards. He's got a recovery drive here. We're on lap 13 of 24, so we're about half race distance now as Ryan Elliott goes down the inside of John Monroe. John Monroe not used to that, especially after the first race. He kind of drove off and left everyone. Now they're struggling in P6. I'm going to move the timing because I just want to double check what sort of tyres John Monroe is on at the moment, because he is struggling at the moment out there. So it's not gone all his way. And I'm going to look out the corner of my eye for John Monroe on this list. And I can't see him. Quickly darting through it. Oh, he's right at the bottom. So he's on the medium option tyre right now. Okay, so Matt Richards and John Monroe both on the medium option. Chris Butcher, where is he on my list of people out here? Chris Butcher, he's on the soft prime. Right, now this is starting to make sense. Where's Dan Kell at? Dan Kell also on the prime soft tyre. So that's probably why it's working out for them here, as it's nearly 3 wide at the back of the grid. Toby Davis under pressure here with Cameron Brewster and Sam Doman all around. And change there as Dan Hutt gets through. And a good little scrap here down in P14, but Toby Davis holding on to his own here. I think it's actually Sam Doman that he's scrapping with, and Kyle Benton, I believe he's with at the moment. So Benton at the back of this trio. Some 18 seconds away from the overall race leader, who is a little further up the road, is John Monroe again on that medium option. So remember that, folks. He's on the harder of the 2 compounds available to him. This person here, though, Dan Kell, is on the prime soft, and he is latching on to the back of Butcher, who is also on the prime soft tyre. So both these drivers with the faster of the 2 tyres now in this race. Again, it's a tyre that can get to temperature quickly. You've got the traction early on, but it can degrade very, very quickly. So Matt Richards there, who is on the option tyre there in P3, keep a close eye, because when this race gets into the latter stages, to which it is nearing, expect to see him starting to close that gap with those probably slightly fresher, less used tyres, despite the fact that he has been grass tracking, even though this is touring cars, not the other one that I'm thinking of, and I can't quite get out my mouth right now. But there with Dan. Autocross, thank you very much. Is it autocross? I don't think it's... No. Yeah, you could autocross it. Yeah, it's autocross. Yeah, we'll go with that one, autocross. Still here with Dan Kell, though. He's closing in that gap now. 0.3 of a second. Oh, Lewis McGlade is apparently joining us in a moment. So, well, there we go. We'll keep an eye on that one. Oh, he's on the chat. On the Discord chat. Oh, okay. Not the Discord. On the YouTube chat. I don't have the YouTube chat yet. Live. No idea what I'm talking right now, as I jumped in 2 seconds ago with some grapes and a cider. So, but hey, we're jumping into this one. I'm going to bring this one up on my phone because I've got about 10 tabs open at the moment on my PC screen, so I can't see much. But hey ho, this is looking good now. Butcher, who has tried his best to get past the back marker there of, I believe that's Chris Corbett. Correct me if I'm wrong. Here's Ryan Elliott and Stefan McCready. They are 4th and 5th at the moment, and at the moment they are closing in, but not at the quickest pace at the moment. This is where we're going to start to see Matt Richards and his option tyre here come into play as Dan Kell moves to the inside, side by side through this section. Oh, I'm going to have kittens in a second because he can't go side by side through there. But for somehow they've both got through. And, well, there we go. I need to calm down and maybe put something in my drink to calm me down. But no, there we go. Dan Kell, though, still there in P2, and Butcher not managing to let anyone pass at the moment. But this man here, Matt Richards, who has the option tyre, has the option to overtake both of these drivers if he does feel so what to do so. There we go. That were good words there. Good England. Matt Richards, the Airstream Motorsport BMW team, tucking in and working his very best here to try and get alongside as Butcher goes. Well, welcome to Air Butcher as he goes all four off the track there through the chicane, through Clark. You see on board there in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen of Matt Richards. Comments coming in for Dan Kell as Kell looks to the inside. He's got to be careful here because Richards is going to have the momentum here to try and get alongside. Kell not managing to get the move done, stays there in P2. Richards again in the favourable spot. Yellows in sector 1. They clear quickly when nearing the end of this race as Kell sends an absolute superstar dive down the inside of his dip and gets that move done. I don't know how on earth he kept that on the track, but he did so. And what here can Butcher do to respond? What here can Richards do to respond? Because Richards running all the track available and a little bit more to try and get past, but at the moment is struggling here to try and get that attack done. I mean, he's there with the medium tyres. He had an off earlier on in the race. Maybe that scrubbed his tyres a little too much, and a big lock up there for Richards as Elliott has now caught up. The man in P4 in the number 66 has caught up to the back of the leading trio as one car goes off in the background there. Not sure who was going the wrong way there, but he decided to go the wrong way for that driver. But Richards still there in P3. He's not managed to find the gap just yet. We're on lap 22. 2 laps to go in this race. It's kind of really do or die here for Richards. Has a little mistake there from Butcher. Chink in the armory maybe as Richards tries to find any gap through. Richards has got to be careful though because Elliott is closing in. And if Elliott finds the opportunity to just quickly send one down the inside, he will. And again, another big lock up there for Richards. You can just see the puff of smoke just pop up as he hits the brakes there into Taylor's hairpin. And a replay here of Chris Corbett. He was our driver who decided to go and see the St John's ambulance very quickly. Hopefully he didn't need one, though. Lap 23 of 24, not much time left, and this is the sort of moment that you will see lunges galore in sim racing. Unless race director Mike Yao puts the fear of God in them, and they won't, but I doubt he will. But he's not the race director, apparently, so he does. Who's the race director for this one? That'd be, I wouldn't like to be them right now. Aidan Millward, who's in chat at the moment, is our race director. Well, Aidan, I hope you've had your Weetabix, son, because on this last lap, you're probably going to need it, as round the outside goes Butcher, and he's going to get squeezed onto the runoff area by Kell, who holds on and maintains that lead. Now keep an eye on Richards, because he's going to stick to that normal racing line. Watch him dive to the inside at Duffer's Dip if he has the opportunity, and looking to the inside goes Butcher once again, trying to recreate the move that Dan Kell did earlier on, but doesn't have the well, I was going to say something, my filter kicked in, but anyway, Kell still leading, and at the moment looking very mighty and strong, as so close to that inside tyre. If this was me racing, I'll have hit that about 24 laps ago, and it'll have all ended in tears. But Butcher here, he's only got one real opportunity to get it done, and it'll have to be into Taylor's hairpin. And Kell will know this. Kell will hopefully hold on to that inside line, but he doesn't. Richards looks to the inside as well. Everyone locks up under braking, but out of the final corner, it'll be a drag race to the line, but it looks like Dan Kell may have this sealed as he hugs that inside barrier and takes the checkered flag. Dan Kell takes race 2 from Butcher, Richards, Elliott and Herlock. The top 5, they still race further down as Willis is side by side with another driver, because I've lost my timing. It was John Monroe who was side by side with, as Phil Morby there crosses the line. P13 for Phil. Toby Davis there in 14th place from Sam Doman. Scott Morris and Chris Corbett crossing the line. I believe 4 retirements from that one. Carl Benton, Tobias Blum, Max Spooner and Daniel Hyde. There's a look at your provisional race results, pending any post-race scrutineering and technical regulations. It's probably going to be the race results that you see on there, though, still, because there is no scrutineering. Unless their steering wheel's not properly attached. I don't know, that may be a scrutineering non-compliance. I'm not too sure. But that's the end of race number 2. I'm waffling a bit. There we go. But yeah, in race, 10 minutes time, folks, we'll be back. I'm going to have a few more grapes and maybe a few more drinks, and then we'll be back for race 3, where again the majority of the field is on the prime soft tire, and a handful 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 live maths there are on the medium option. We'll be back. Oh, and reverse grids as well from 6th to 12th, so keep an eye on that one. I have no idea how that works, but I'll try my level best to tell you how it works. But we'll take a quick break. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the third and final race of round 8 here at Knockhill. As you can see, drivers are lined up and hopefully all are primed ready to get going. Once again, your man there, John Monroe, he won race 1 this time. I believe starting on pole position for this one. Oh, he came 7th and the reverse grid was 7th. Well, how about that, you absolute jammy? You absolute... Yeah, anyway. But never mind. Hey, but this is sim racing. That's what it's all about. That's why we like the reverse grid, because we get to see what you can do from the front of the row again. They start their formation lap. Here's how they'll line up then. John Monroe and Stefan McCready will go from row 1. Daniel Hurlock and Ryan Elliott will go from row number 2. Again, keep an eye on those drivers. Are very quick in race number 2 as well. On row number 3, Matt Richards and Chris Butcher with Dan Kelly and Ben Willis. They go from row number 4. A look further back on the order, you've got Jonas Leppert. They go from row 5 with Callum Wilson alongside Dan Hutt and Cameron Brewster. They go from row number 6. Keep an eye on the 99 and 39. Very close in their previous race as well. Phil Morby and Toby Davis, they go from row 7 from Sam Doman and Scott Morris, who go from row number 8. Again, the number 8 and 31, very close in that last race. On row 9, Chris Corbett and Tobias Blum, they go from that row with Daniel Hyde and Max Spooner going from row 10. And rounding out the field, 21 karts on row number 11. It will be when the timer updates. I don't think it will, because we've only got 20 cars. We don't have 21. So there we go. So that only clocked to me when I looked at my live timing screen. It was 21. Now it's only 20. Someone's dinner time. Had to leave. Understandable. But John Monroe, who lines himself up at the front, got a new contender he's not had alongside him this time around. Stefan McCready. McCready had a interesting start to his race in race number 2. Hyde in the bottom corner. Who will Hyde apparently? We'll not know, because we can see Hyde in the bottom corner as Hyde gets a terrible start actually. And McCready also gets a good start, but Monroe holds on to that outside line as down the inside goes Hurlock. Hurlock now moves up into 2nd place, and it's well, there we go. It's happened already. John Monroe has disappeared off into the distance as everyone else was fighting over for 2nd and not 1st. So classic touring car race as round goes someone and his wheels off, and that's it. He's out of the race, and that is Ryan Elliott, who's out. And I'm not sure if he was assisted there or that was all in his own doing. I think the first couple of corners on the first lap, probably I'll go with the first. It's saying, and it was probably assisted round. So at the moment, at the end of lap 1, John Monroe leads the way by 1.5 seconds from Daniel Hurlock. Stefan McCready there in P3 as we're side by side for P8. They all slot into position now as Leppert gets in front of Davis. Butcher there in 4th place from Richards, Kell, Willis, Leppert, then it's Davis, Hutt, Brewster. This was the incident with Ryan Elliott, and well, yeah, was it the tire on the inside that took him out there? Oh God, that's 2 wheels off there. So I'm not sure whose other wheel that was, as Toby Davis goes, thank you very much, I'll take that move down the inside, thank me later. As they still remain side by side for P8. Jonas Leppert there, not giving all the space in the world to him. Dan Hutt just behind in P11. A bit of a contretemps here with a load of other cars at the moment. But everyone looking pretty strong at the moment. Matt Richards there, who was the cause of the demise for Ryan Elliott. I'm sure he wasn't. I'm sure it was just an accident. It was all fun and games as Richard gets very loose and squirrely out of Clark Curve there. And Richard is going to go to the outside here and try and hold it around the outside of Butcher. Butcher holds on to it, but not by much. It's still side by side for third place. I mean, come on, guys. Work together and try and push to the group in front. I mean, you know, all good fighting over third place, but you don't want to finish third or fourth. You want to finish second or first, I'm sure. So get on with it. Slot in behind each other, push each other along, work together, use the slipstream effect to your advantage and close that gap up to Herlock, who is some 3 seconds further up the road. But I have to say, Herlock's closing in on Monroe. So Monroe, who's now this time on the prime soft tyre, as round. There goes a driver. Who was that who went round? I couldn't quite see who that was. It was this man here, Dan Hutt, who went round. Well, Hutt now probably not too happy, and he'll be the red mist will have descended. I was going to say under his visor, but behind his monitor at home, as Ben Willis tries to go round the outside at Duffer's Dip, and round he goes. And Ben Willis, what you talking about, Willis, rejoins the track now down in P12 as Dan Kell getting cozy with Chris Butcher. And Butcher holding it round the outside. Can't imagine what is being said in the cockpit of that car. I could imagine it's something along the lines of, oh, and I think it's even more now as he's gone into the barrier hard, and his car's gone absolutely, well, it's absolutely destroyed. The rear wing flew off, the wheels have come off, and Dan Kell stays there in P4, but Butcher now is, well, out of this race, as now Dan Kell tries to have a go at Butcher's teammate of Davis. Hopefully Davis doesn't go the same way as his teammate's demise and cutting the corner here. Well, this is touring car racing at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. Crash, bang, wallop, and corner cutting all the way throughout it. This is typical of the British Touring Car Championships. All now, be it with that new hybrid rubbish that they've got going on. No, I'm only kidding. But Dan Kell. Oh, and there's Dan Hutt again in his favourite place, the kitty litter. Oh, dear me, as Dan Kell, well, tried to go for the cutback there. And unfortunately, the cutback involved someone's rear bumper. So everyone falling down the order here. The two teammates both out of this race, as Dan Kell's now been passed by McCready. So McCready there in P4. Basically, they've gifted the win, and I have to say, I hope we can switch to the race leaders, because there's only 1/10 of a second between John Monroe and Herlock, and there it is, the move for the race lead into Taylor's hairpin, and Herlock's done it. Herlock down the inside has got past John Monroe. Now, Dan Herlock on this one is running the prime soft tyre. The same for John Monroe, both on the same tyres in this one, so maybe Herlock has just looked after them a little bit more than Monroe. There was the incident with Toby Davis, who now runs in P16, lap down. And I believe he's coming to the pit lane. And good work to keep it out of the wall there. But John Monroe now in second place, who was leading this race for the first 7 or so laps of this race. Big lock up there for Herlock as he struggles to slow the car down. Here's Jonas Leppert there in P8. He's got the very close and probably not wanted company of Ben Willis just behind, as Willis looks to the inside as Leppert closes the door. Leppert's teammate just behind, I believe, Scott Morris, now going side by side. And we'll have the sub-optimal line for Duffer's Deep, but holds on to it amazingly, just in the background of this shot. And as they exit out of McIntyre. They loses that spot there, so Jonas Leppert holding on to P8 at the moment. Several DNFs in this race at the moment. We've lost Toby Davis, we've lost Chris Butcher, Callum Wilson, Max Spooner, who I believe is still out there. Saying he's out. No, he's saying he's in the pit lane. Okay, so he's just pulled it into the pit lane. He's not retired though. And Ryan Elliott. So 5 cars out of this race. 15 remain as we look here at Cameron Brewster in P5. Close company of Stephen McCready and Phil Morby just behind. But I'm sure after this race, Cameron will be pouring himself a good old Brewster. That was terrible. I do apologise, but we'll keep them coming thick and fast. 10 laps in. Yellows in sector 1 again. They cleared quickly, so I believe the yellows, just for a half spin, the yellows may come out, and then they clear quickly, of course. But Brewster is catching on to the back here of Dan Kell. Now, Kell, who's had a pretty interesting start, as a little further back behind these two, McCready and Morby, who are battling side by side. They now slot back into position. And again, sparks just flying off the undercarriage of Brewster's car there. Herlock still leading and the gap increasing. Monroe not able to close the gap. I mean, it is closing at the moment by some way, but I think that's due to the braking zone, because it's now increased again. Back here on board with John Monroe. I think John is one of those drivers, and I'll agree with this if he does think this, and I'm only speculating if he thinks this, is probably thinks it's easier to follow someone than it is to lead, because I find that it is easier to follow someone than it is to lead, because you can basically copy their braking zones, because I don't know where they actually are myself. But, oh, so close for Herlock there for that barrier, and you got to think, just for Monroe behind, thinking, oh, he's going to hit it, and you know you're going to be involved in an accident, so you feel like you want to lift off the throttle a little bit, or maybe just feather the brake pedal somewhat. But Monroe kept his foot flat in it there and really closes up under braking. Struggles a little bit on the exit, constantly pulling away from Richards in P3. Now, Richards at the moment is also on the prime tyre. He's in a bit of a no man's land at the moment. He's a second or so clear from the group in front, and 12 seconds clear from this battle here, the battle for 4th place. Brewster and Kell. Leading that one is what you're talking about. Willis runs a little wide there. Holds on to that one. He's still in front of McCready, though. McCready not finding the gap to get through, and has got the, I suspect, in McCready's mind, the irritating company of this man here, Scott Morris, who is like a rash on his backside, not going away. And again, McCready on the inside, and Morris sweeps to the outside. He's going to have to be careful here if he tries to go for the cutback. Big lock-up under braking. Does try to half successfully get the switch back, but McCready covers that inside line once again, and it's going to be a Scott Morris special round the outside here at Duffer's Dip. And can he hold on to it? And he tries to. He avoids the barriers on the inside. The barriers, I may say, you can drive through on this one. They're not solid, but fails to do so back here in P10. This is the battle for 9th place. Still move forward to Phil Morby here in P6. He's still got that close company of Cameron Brewster just in front. Dan Kell, he's latched on to the back of these two as we now go on to the final 10 laps of the race. Here's a replay of what happened to Matt Richards. So Richards has caught up to the back of John Monroe and has taken 2nd place. We just missed that off our timing screens, but yeah, gets the move done before they get even to the apex, so potential issue for Monroe. Maybe he's got something stuck behind his go loud pedal at home. Maybe he needs to clear that out a little bit. Maybe a bit of dust. A bit of compressed air will do that some good. Emma Brewster, though, still latched on to the back of Dan Kell, not letting him get away there in P4. Brewster, what is Brewster on? Also on the prime tyre. And looks to the inside here. He's found a gap. He's found an opening, has Brewster. And Kell has to concede the space. Kell caught sleeping a little bit there, but now he's awake and he's got back on the loud pedal and he's going to try and hold it round the outside here. We've not seen this work for several times, but Kell is one of the drivers who can do it. And race 2's race winner and fails to do so here. And keep an eye there on 6th place. Ben Willis. Not Ben Willis. He's in 8th place. Bill Morby. Morby trying to get involved in this one. Again, you're always in the better opportunity if you're in the third in this group, because when someone dives down the inside here, you can kind of follow their moves again as the switchback comes through for Kell. So Kell back down the inside here. He hasn't got the full momentum to get alongside, but keep an eye on Morby. Morby on the outside now. Is he going to go for 2 for 1? No, he's not. He's going to try and go down the inside again on Dan Kell and gets alongside. Can't quite hold the momentum, though, as they exit out of Taylor's. So Morby still there in P6. And Kell now on the defensive. Not looking to the inside here. Way too far back. He's on the defensive there from Morby as Morby now tries to go down the inside. Successfully does so, but he's on the outside here as they go through McIntyre. Through Butchers they go, and back down the inside goes Morby. He'll have the suboptimal line as they exit through, and he is suboptimal through the chicane. And he drops back now into P6 and a little further down the order. There you can see Matt Richards in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen fighting Herlock for the race lead. Herlock, who gained the lead early on in this race with a fantastic dive down the inside at the Taylor's hairpin on John Monroe in the early stages, now looks like he's under pressure from Richards. Richards, like we say, is on that prime soft tyre. The same with Herlock. So has Richards looked after his tyres a little bit more in race 3 this time around? We'll have to see as both of them run slightly wide in the bottom right-hand corner. They go full screen now as we stay on board with Matt Richards for the Airstream Motorsport team, as they now head in towards the area here where Herlock made the move on Monroe, and is Richards now going to make the move on Herlock. He looks to the inside, he thinks about it, but slots back into the slipstream there, now thinking he can get the switch back as they go down the main strike. Pushing him along now is Richards on Herlock, and if Herlock can hold on to this one, he may push John Monroe back into this fight. As you can see, Monroe just falling back in the order as one of the cars just pulling out of the pit lane there. Believe that possibly Max Spooner or Dan Hutt, not too sure. But Richards, it was Dan Hutt apparently who's just left the pit lane. Richards, who has not got the move done, has a big lob of oversteer there, as you can imagine. He's in the rear-wheel drive BMW versus the front-wheel drive Vauxhall. Obviously, you've got to be so careful with the back end stepping out. The Ford Focus just behind as well of John Monroe, also front-wheel drive. I would say that this circuit favours the rear-wheel drive more than the front-wheel drive, purely due to the undulations. As battles galore on screen here. This is the battle for P12 at the moment. Back here with the race lead, though, as Richards once again tries the outside line. He has to be careful as he redelivers the power, and there's a big switch as he pulls out of the slipstream last second as a look for a cheeky move into McIntyre, but thinks against it as Herlock now fighting fiercely to hold on to the race lead. And I've got to say that Monroe at the moment is closing in. The gap now less than a second now between these two. Keep an eye on Brewster as well. I mean, the gap is 15.4 seconds, but that gap can close rapidly if these two keep scrapping the way they are. Richards again goes to the outside, tries to get the switchback, locks up under braking, but Herlock holds on to it, tries to maintain it, but Richards has got the opportunity now. Richards has actually got the lead as they come to the line. So Richards, before they even get to the next braking zone, managed to get that move on the outside. So there it goes. Just shows you can get on the power a little bit sooner out of that Taylor's hairpin with the rear-wheel drive. BMW versus the front-wheel drive. So now Herlock is in second place. What can he do to respond here? Because he doesn't want to let Richards get away too soon. If he lets Richards break away, he might lose this one with only a handful of laps to go, as Richards with a big oversteer moment once again. Those tyres are screaming to be cooled down, but Richards refuses to cool them down, and he is pushing them to their very limit. There's another lock up there for Richards. Herlock trying everything he can, as Monroe is now latched onto the back, and there, just in the background of shot, I believe that's Dan Hutt, who left the pit lane a moment ago, not in this battle, but could play a role in it, potentially. Who knows? He might latch onto the back of them, but at the moment, Herlock holding on now to P2, and it's all simmered down a little bit. Back here with Ben Willis in P8. Not simmered down here, still going strong. Who's he got in front of him? The number 7 of Jonas Lepit. But there, just giving him a bit of breathing space from Willis. Sam Doman here, fighting for P13 with Dan Hyde. Dan's not hiding now. He was hiding in race 2 as he retired early stages, but not hiding anymore as Doman takes a big lob of sausage curb there. It's slightly airborne in his black and blue liveried vehicle, and not managing to get past in these stages. Of course, you've got to be very, very careful with the tyre degradation at this point. In terms of racing at the front, as a quick update, Richards now leading by 1.6 seconds from Herlock. Monroe still there, but not managing to make any impressions on Herlock, who is hurling his way around the track. Again, another terrible pun. Thank you. I'm not here all weekend. So I keep seeing attack mode 1 pop up beside the drivers. Now, I'm curious to know what that is. Is that a button that they're pressing? Is that an option that's available? Is it an extra boost, maybe, that they're getting? I'm not too sure. Where it says attack mode 1. Maybe they've got the hybrid system in these. I'm not too sure. That little added boost. But Richard... Oh, they do apparently have the hybrid. They've got push to push. Look at that. I was slating it earlier, and they've got it in the sim racing world as well. I'll probably regret that later, but never mind. I've said it. Gap still 0.3 of a second between Monroe and Herlock, as there, Matt Richards, with no competition at the end of the race, will exit the final corner, and he shall take race Heat 3 win of round 8, and he crosses the line with a big virtual smile under that virtual helmet in his virtual car from Dan Herlock and John Monroe, who crosses the line. Monroe, obviously well known for his racing in the 750 Motor Club, in the Club Enduro, in his MX-5. Can certainly make this virtual car move a little bit faster than his MX-5, though. Ooh, I said it. There we go. Brewster crosses the line in P4 from Morby, who holds on to P5. Dan Kell crosses the line in P6 from what you're talking about, Ben Willis. Jonas Lepit crosses in P8 from Stefan McCready. Chris Corbett, Tobias Blum, Scott Morris, Daniel Hyde, who are still racing here. May have caught it a bit early there, but they cross the line in that order, so it's all fine. Sam Doman and Dan Hutt, who crosses the line after a lengthy pit stop, I believe, finishes 2 laps down from the overall race leader. But there it is, after 24 laps of racing, your top 10, provisional top 10, of course, pending any race steward inquiries. I'm sure there might be a couple of them. Remember, Matt Richards sent someone off lap 1, just reminding everyone of that, just to make sure he doesn't get away with too much in that one. I'm sure Matt Richards will hate me for reminding everyone that he did that. Dan Herlock there finishing in P2 from John Monroe, Cameron Brewster, Phil Morby, Dan Kell, Ben Willis, Jonas Lepit, Stefan McCready, and Chris Corbett rounding out the top 10 after 24 laps of racing. Scott Morris, Tobias Blum, Daniel Hyde, who wasn't hiding from anyone in P13 from Sam Doman, Dan Hutt, Toby Davis, Chris Butcher, Callum Wilson, Max Spooner, and Ryan Elliott. All DNFs, 5 DNFs, the 2 teammates there. Early stages at the hands of other drivers, of course, causing them to rotate. And I would say a bit of a challenge in that one. I've been Anthony Jordan, who jumped in last second after seeing this stream was live and it said no commentary. And I thought, we can't have that. I'll jump on from my house in Silverstone to join you. I had nothing else better to do this evening. So I thought, hey, I'll jump on here and annoy your ears even more. The next round, Silverstone National, coming up 2nd of November. Make sure you've got your tickets for that one. If you haven't got any tickets, please email me at Anthony Jordan at anything and send me £20. I'll give you a virtual ticket to that event, and you can get involved in that one. Of course, there are no virtual tickets. You can watch for free, of course, on the Simply Race YouTube channel. And I'm sure a smattering of other YouTube channels, if someone's going to hear, let me know what they are, if any. Or is it just Simply Race? No, it's everywhere. There's a lot. There's so many. The disembodied voice in my head doesn't know where exactly he's live streaming to. So hello to everyone around the world, wherever you're watching. This has been the VMO Touring Car Round 8 at Knockhill. I've been Anthony Jordan. Mike Yau's been Mike Yau. And all the drivers have been the very selves. From us here this evening, it's good night.